Hey, you guys, welcome back to another episode of Walking Away from Lukewarm Living. I'm your host, Zuli, and today, you guys, I am making an episode that I didn't think I would be making. On my very first episode, period, of this podcast, of Brownie's Judgment, literally like the OG first original podcast of this channel, I talked about how I went 5 years without social media and that I re-downloaded it shortly after my 23rd birthday. You guys, I didn't even manage to make it to my 25th birthday still having social media. And I want to talk about that because the only thing I downloaded was Facebook, okay? And you know what's so funny? Sure, I was able to keep up with schoolwork and, hanging out with family, got into a relationship, met new people, new friendships, new hobbies, this and that. You know what's so interesting? That this time around, I found myself more distracted. I think that's what it was. Like, more distracted with things that, like videos and whatnot, that weren't serving the purpose that God has for my life. And last time, I remember when I talked, on the very first episode, I mentioned how I found myself comparing myself a lot to other people. And yeah, sure, there's bits and pieces of that as well, this time around. But, like how I mentioned in the first episode, my 23, 24, almost 25-year-old mind now is a lot different than how it was 16, 17, 18, whatever. But this time around, I was just so exhausted and tired. I felt like I was being fed junk in the sense of the videos that were popping up on my feed. And I don't know if Facebook had reels or shorts or whatever you call them whenever I used to have it, like in the very beginning. I don't think so. But this time around, obviously they do have it, because I deleted it about, like, by the time this episode airs, it would be about a month or so. And I just want to, like, talk about it. I wanted some time to let the episode air so that way it can be fresh, and then so I can also compare it for myself. I don't know if that makes any sense, so I can see where my mindset has gone and whatnot. And so I was thinking about it, because like I mentioned in the first episode, I am very picky about who I would share my Facebook account with, right? But it started to scare me a little bit because, like, people from high school were starting to find my account. And that kind of, like, defeated the whole purpose of me getting off. I felt like I was re-exposing myself. And then obviously I know this is a podcast, right? But this is, for me, an outlet, a form of expression, not a form of wanting to show off certain aspects of my life, like, this is raw, vulnerable, like, truly, I know I'm the one talking, but genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, I do feel like this is for you guys, for, you just to hear someone, whether you relate to me or not, just a different perspective. Hopefully, this adds value to your life, but genuinely, that is, like, the premise of this podcast. And it's so sad because now YouTube also has YouTube Shorts. And it's gotten to the point to where I noticed that I had to even put, like, a timer on my phone to where I could only be on YouTube on my phone for an hour a day because I was on there for hours. And, like I said, schoolwork, yeah, that was still going through. But, like, even I found myself falling behind a tiny bit, but not too bad. But you get what I'm saying. Like, just enough to know, hey, like, this is, like, taking up a little bit more time than it should. And so I started thinking, I'm like, I'm so busy all the time. But the reality is that I was filling up so much of my time with Facebook and especially YouTube. So I decided to delete YouTube off of my phone. I've done that a lot. I've deleted, downloaded, deleted, downloaded YouTube off my phone so many times. And so I know my heart of hearts talking about this now, that it's like a very unhealthy relationship. But I do require YouTube for my courses for school. So I just like told myself that I would just allow myself to access YouTube on my computer for schoolwork. And so I literally had to delete YouTube off my phone. I had to sign off the account on my TV. I had to sign out on my account on the living room TV. Like, I'm just thinking about how sad, like, truly that feels for me, that I had to go to that extent because of how much it was consuming, my time, just like being a distraction. And I noticed that I was at a family member's birthday party. It was for my cousin's kid. And I just was scrolling, and mind you, my stomach was hurting, so I needed a break. But it wasn't necessarily that because I was scrolling at the party, but rather it was, I became consciously aware of what I was consuming while as almost like an outsider. And I think it helped that I showed another individual like this video. So the individual was like, the first thing was, it was like a beautiful like chocolate cookie type of thing. Like that was like the look or whatever. And then the second, right immediately after I scrolled up on that short from the cookie, the very next thing was literally a very, very fit looking girl, like in a gym outfit, just showing out her clothes. And then that scared me for a second because I hadn't had that sort of algorithm or view in a while. Like, like so disrupted like that, because that just the connection there for me, it makes sense at the time. It made sense at the time. But if you know, you know. And so I started thinking, I'm like, okay, something's gotta give. And I noticed myself feeling more anxious and having trouble sleeping at night. And like I said, the social comparison definitely didn't compare to last time. Using comparison twice, that's funny. But like I said, the thing for me truly was distraction and not diving in more into like the podcast like I wanted to, or reading books, or writing, or photography, or spending time with, what I mean. Like, it's just like one of those things where I was constantly always like trying to stimulate my mind, and so I felt like there was no time for what I truly loved. And thank God, I'm so glad that I started this podcast nearly a year ago now, because this is like a form of expression that I'm able to dive into and truly be able to explore different parts of myself and explore, whatnot with you guys, and see the growth. But the problem truly right now in this space is that I just knew that I could be doing more for myself, but I wasn't, because I was distracted. And that's like a really big word for me right now, is like distraction, like being careful, discerning, like seeing, okay, is this person, place, or thing, whatever, is it going to take me away or get me closer to the purpose that God has for my life? Because distractions, that's a really big tactic of the devil. We don't talk about that enough. I have been distracted so much in my life through what seems like little things, like, oh, just like a new friend here, or a new situationship here, or this opportunity, or this new quote unquote obsession, like, or focusing on the wrong things. And I'm not just talking about school or work or whatever. I'm talking about those true personal goals that no one knows about, that I've always wanted to do and explore, or make more money to be able to travel to this place, whatever, And so I started thinking, I'm like, when am I ever going to find the time? I'm so busy. And mind you, once I deleted YouTube off my phone and Facebook, like I noticed like my screen time reduced dramatically, but that was just my phone. But the issue now was that, yeah, sure, I wasn't watching YouTube much on my phone or watching those reels, but I was watching long videos on YouTube. And so I started to think, okay, the time is still being taken up regardless. My sleep is terrible. I'm stressing out. My mind feels absolutely in a mess of thoughts. And my concentration isn't there. My memory isn't there. And so I knew, okay, I can't really tell you when was the exact moment. I was probably in my room. And I was just saying, I'm gonna delete YouTube off my TV tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. And then finally I just did it. Today. Like I said, this is recorded a month ago, but you get what I'm saying. And I'm so grateful, because it's interesting, because whenever you have so much time and space, like you start doing the things that you've been putting off, right? And that's kind of like what happened to me today. Like I have been meaning to like do something with the podcast and like do a little bit of research, and then like I haven't done it in months, and then I finally did it like just a tiny bit today. And I'm recording this today. Like this felt necessary to record the same day, because I knew that I just had to document this for myself, for you guys, and to show how you don't have to be a slave to, the junk that they try to feed us online. Like truly, like I mean it. Like I'm just thinking about how much of these almost 2 years that I had set aside, that I had worked so hard for, to build up mental health again, and to find the way that God has me on. And I don't want to say like I've lost all of it, but I will be honest and say that I feel like I did lose a little bit of it. I did have YouTube throughout that time of those 5 years without social media, but it wasn't until like closer to the very end that Reels started to become a thing. And so my concentration was still there, with the longer video formats and stuff like that. But still, it's been an issue. I won't lie, like on and off, like this whole YouTube thing, and every now and then Facebook, but like, I didn't really see too much value in that either. But like I said, this is a safe space here. This is for both of us, for me and for you. And I just wanted to be honest about this, because this isn't something that is easy to admit or to talk about. And I know with me feeling this way, I can't imagine other people that have way more platforms. I just had to let go of 2. There's people that are on 5 or 6 of them. And then a lot of people don't really consider YouTube a social media. So it's like, technically it's basically just one. And Facebook, a lot of people are rarely on it either. So it's just like, my situation looks a lot different than for a lot of people. And the longer you're on social media, the harder it is to get out. And I get it. And I sympathize with you, truly. And I'm just grateful that you're taking the time out of all the distractions that there are, and deciding to spend time here instead. And it's not about listening in here versus over there, or doing this thing or doing that thing, but rather it's following the convictions that the Lord gives you, in which he says, enough is enough. Come follow me. such and such thing is taking you away from me. Come back to me. Come back to me. Like that keeps coming up. And I just like think about how my life has transpired throughout the years, you know. And I've heard 25 is a pretty big deal, and I'm very excited for it. Don't get me wrong. And I have graduation to look forward to, and among other things that are going to take time. But I'm just so grateful that I finally woke up again. And this is just to show you that even someone like me that was able to do it for 5 years and decided to get back on years later with a fresher mind, with a brighter perspective, still fell again, but in a different way. And I just want to encourage you and say that, you know, from my perspective, I'm starting to get that motivation, wish, want, whatever you want to call it, to just start talking to people again. Or in general, because that's not really something I really do. But like I have that desire for like human connection, you know, like to not be so scared or nervous or whatever, to like approach someone that I find interesting, like not even in a romantic way, but just like something like genuinely like stands out to me about them. It can be about their shoes or hair, whatever, or about the coffee they're reading, the book they're coffee they're reading, coffee they're drinking, or the book they're reading. You know, like I feel like that's what we're missing in our society. But like, and then I look around and so many people are looking down on their phone, and guess what? That's been me. So like I said, I don't condemn anyone, but I'm just being real in the sense of what life has been like for me. And I just like truly appreciate you guys listening in, because this isn't something that I feel is talked about enough. And I think that it should be. You know, I think we should all be more honest with ourselves and say, okay, what is taking me away from the true goals and aspirations that the Lord has put on my life? Am I investing in the talents that He's given me? Am I reaching out to the people that I should? Am I doing what I should be doing to help grow the kingdom and my character? There are so many weird little hobbies that I have, that I enjoy, that I haven't allowed myself to, or given myself the space to pursue as much as I would love to. And now that I'm giving myself the permission to have that time again, it feels like a form of love. It feels like it's what I was always meant to do. And I just want to encourage you guys that if you feel like it's time for you as well, and trust me, I know it's a little nerve-wracking. I've done it once before, you know. This is the second time for me. I just want to encourage you to take that leap of faith and, you know, look in my info tab and you can email me. Like if you tell me about your experience, and or if you want advice or something about it, like I'm here, you know, I'm here for you guys. Like that's why I do this. I do this for you guys. I don't want you to feel like this is just for you to listen to me talk. I genuinely want this to be a place of connection for all of us. And I'm just so excited and happy and grateful that you're here. Like truly, I do mean that. And I do hope that eventually sometime that we can connect. Well, thank you so much for tuning in here on Walking Away from Lukewarm Living. I'm your host, Suli, and as always, God bless.